What is up, gamer dudes and dudettes? I've got a very exciting video today because I heard a little bit of news. It got me a little bit overexcited, and it's kind of not really what I thought it was, but I still made something out of it. Let's get into what it was. So I believe Ed Boon on Twitter asked like how much people would want like a monster fighting game. If you don't know, Ed Boon is the creator of Mortal Kombat, which is my favorite fighting game franchise. It's the only one I really play, other than Smash Brothers, I guess. But Mortal Kombat's always really been my favorite, and I do even like the more modern games. So I was like, oh, okay. And you were saying like how he would want like Godzilla, Kong in it, and instantly my mind went to Godzilla fighting game, which is not very good. I shouldn't be thinking that. That's getting me too overexcited. I get all like, you know. Basically, that's sort of like my dream game has always been a 2D Godzilla fighter, sort of like the Battle Legends and Kaiju Daigasan, the 16-bit Street Fighter-esque ones. I've never been a big fan of the gameplay in those. I love like the style of it and everything, but I think like a Mortal Kombat style Godzilla fighting game would be amazing. I think it's one of the few game genres where you can kind of make their slow fighting style and slow movement actually work pretty well into like quite a fun thing, and Mortal Kombat would suit that. Like Street Fighter's a bit too fast, and you know, like the Mortal Kombat Tekken side of it probably makes more sense. I honestly don't think it's actually going to happen though. He asked on Twitter, like he doesn't think that there's enough popular monsters. Somebody gave him a list of like 20 odd monsters. To be fair, I had characters like Ebura on there and stuff, and it's like, well, what else are you going to respond to? He said, oh yeah, I only want popular ones. And I still think that it would be nice to see like a game about like mythological monsters, or like cryptids, and you know, have a fighting game with Cthulhu, the Kraken, Talos, Bigfoot, like a Sasquatch or something. Like all that stuff I think would be really cool. Sort of make it more of an original thing, I guess. But he's clearly not like a big Godzilla fan, so I don't think he's the best person to be working on a Godzilla fighting game. But it got me excited enough to make my own roster. This is my hypothetical roster for a Godzilla fighting game. And I want to stress this is also a Godzilla versus Kong fighting game. So this is like if it were to come out right now and it was to tie in, sort of semi-tie in with Godzilla versus Kong. So like as if that's the most recent movie to come out. So like the last Godzilla game for the PS3, PS4 that had Godzilla 2014 playing a kind of big role in it, just because that was like the most recent game that came out, the most recent movie that came out. If it was like a year later on, it probably would have been Shin Godzilla, Anime Godzilla a few years later on. That's just sort of how it works with a lot of games like this. So I try to focus it around that, but I wanted it to be mainly a Toho Godzilla monster fighting game. So with the roster, I wanted the roster to have 24 characters at launch, which would be quite a lot. It's quite a lot for most fighting games, and I doubt it would happen. But this is just mostly wishful thinking. I tried to keep them all within like Monsterverse and Toho, at least for these ones. I've also got 4 DLC fighters who are also from Godzilla Toho. Sort of like bonus ones. These are a little bit more fun, I guess. Not like the quintessential monsters, but more just ones that will be nice additions as DLC. And 6 guest DLC characters. Yeah, that's quite a lot, but come on, that's like the fun part. That's what everyone wants to do. So the first 4 characters I want to talk about on the roster are both versions of Godzilla and both versions of King Kong. So, of course, if it's going to tie in with the Monsterverse, I wanted to have both Monsterverse versions of Godzilla and Kong, the ones from Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it only makes sense, especially if this is going to be not at least released in America. I doubt like people would, like if you saw like the sales like the Godzilla PS4, no one wants to buy a game that's like, other than Godzilla fans, that has the Japanese characters on the front of it. I think these guys are going to kind of be the poster boys for this game. I think the monster this has got to take a little bit of focus, even if it is like a Toho one. And then for the Godzilla and Kong from like the classic ones, I just went with the 62 designs. I know Kong 62 design sucks, but it just makes sense. I think these two make sense. And I think when you think Godzilla and you think Toho Kong, this is what comes to mind. I know probably like the Mosu Goji or the original like 54 suit would be more iconic, I guess, for this Godzilla, but I don't know, it's my personal favourite, and I think it just works with the whole Godzilla vs. Kong idea, if this is a Godzilla vs. Kong game. Going with that idea, I also want the mecha, or the Showa mecha versions of both characters. So we have Mechagodzilla 74 and Mechani Kong. Mechani Kong's not really a character that's used very often. I mean, it hasn't been used since 1968, 7, 6, whenever King Kong Escapes came out. Yes, it actually predates the original Mechagodzilla, which is kind of cool. But I think always like mecha characters like this, like especially Mechagodzilla with all of his like missiles and beams and stuff, you can make for a really cool moveset. I think the same with Mechani Kong. I think robot characters just tend to make for cool movesets. And then at the bottom of this row, I try to make the row sort of like Smash Bros. Brawl, where you can sort of look at it in different ways, and it's like, how they had like Mario characters and like Zelda characters and Pokemon characters all sort of done in their own lines, and then at the top you had the original characters. I wanted to do something similar to that, I guess. So if you look at like the first row, it's Godzilla, Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, Mechagodzilla, and yeah, I've probably got to put a spoiler warning at the start of this now, but yes, Redacted, aka Mechagodzilla 2021. I wanted this character in because, well, it's a Godzilla vs. Kong game, so of course you got to have that. And also, only having one version of Mechagodzilla I don't think is very fair. I also put Gorosaurus in there, so that now we have like a row of completely Kong characters, because Gorosaurus did originally show up in a Kong movie. I just wanted one more Kong-specific character, like classic Kong character. There is technically another Kong character online, but it's like a MonsterVerse one. So I just wanted one to just, represent like more classic Kong. And I think all the other ones would be too small, so I've got like the V-Rex or the original T-Rex or something. It just wouldn't fit with the rest of the game. And Gorosaurus makes for a cool moveset as well. He has his kangaroo kick. It's very tooth and claw, which is different to all of the mecha type characters. And I think there's not a lot of characters like that I have in the roster. Like, not as much as you would think, even though they are just sort of monsters. But I think having a nice, no crazy special moves or beams or anything, just sort of tooth and claw, punch and kick kind of monster. So at the top, I've got the Toho Big Five, or not the technically no, but the rest of the Toho Big Five with Mothra 92, Ghidorah 2001, and Rodan 64. And the reason why I went with these designs specifically is because I wanted ones from each different era, and I kind of went with my favourite ones from each of these eras. I love the Mothra design from 92, I love the Ghidorah design from 2001, and same with like that. These are like my personal favourite ones, but I think it would be nice if these pretty iconic characters all represented a different era of the Godzilla franchise. Going down the Mothra line, I've sort of got the Earth Defender type characters, or just sort of like the normal Earth monsters, like mythological monsters as well, sort of thing. I don't know, this is sort of like a bit of a weird category, but of course I've got Batra under Mothra. Batra used to be like my favourite character, I thought, because I was like a bit edgy. I was a little edgy boy back in the day, so Batra, she was my favourite. But I still love the design of Batra. I think it's awesome, like the red lightning type thing on the wings, and the little crown on her head. It's just awesome. I think it's such a cool design. And I think, it'd be easy to development, because you just sort of have to take some of the stuff from Mothra, throw in the Batra, give Batra some new moves, because of course Batra has different types of moves. Maybe make it like a more aggressive playstyle or something. Next up we got King Caesar. I think King Caesar will be a decent option because, again, sort of tooth and claw, sort of more humanoid though. So it adds like a different element to him. He could be a very fast, agile character. Plus he has like that counter-attack move. A lot of people think he has like that rainbow beam, but that's actually Mechagodzilla's that he reflects back. So I think he could have some cool, like a cool counter move set or something. I think he would definitely work. And Anguirus. Anguirus, again, quick character, all fours, tooth and claw, and like that little ball thing he does in Final Wars. You probably make like a couple of cool combos and stuff out of that move, so some cool attacks. And again, he's obviously going to be in the game. He's like a classic character. In Ghidorah's row, I put all the alien monsters I wanted to show up in the game, starting with Gigan. Again, just like Anguirus, of course Gigan's going to show up. I went with the 2004 design because it just makes for like an awesome moveset. The amount of abilities he has, you could like switch between the hook hands and the chainsaw hands, like his eye lasers. Yeah, again, he's also sort of quite agile compared to a lot of the other monsters, and some of these are quite lumbering, quite slow, and yeah, I think he would work pretty well. Megalon, if you can't have Gigan without Megalon. I think Megalon always makes for a pretty interesting moveset, like even in the Kaiju Daiksen games, like the way you can like juggle his opponents with his bomb attacks, and he has like a few, he has like directional beam in most games, so yeah, I would say Megalon. And Megalon always shows up in like every fighting game, even like Destroy All Monsters Melee, where like they had a pretty limited roster, but they still include Megalon of all characters, which I always found kind of strange. Space Godzilla. Space Godzilla make for an awesome moveset. It's just like he could be like setting up crystals to make himself more powerful. You can sort of work around that. He has all those like telekinetic abilities. Why wouldn't you want Space Godzilla in there? With Rodan's one, I didn't really know what to put. I guess I could have put like winged monsters under him, so I put Monsterverse monsters. Because I said that's like quite an important thing about this game, so I think there should be like a decent amount of them. The Muto, or more specifically female and male Muto. Yeah, both of them. Now, I don't have it up in the picture, but I want, because like otherwise the male Muto would just be like this little blob of pixels if I tried fitting it in there. But what I wanted was like a tag team sort of thing, so like the male Muto would sort of work with the female one for like a few attacks and stuff. There's like a few times you can call it in for like an assist. That stuff I think will be really cool, because otherwise it's a pretty dull monster. Behemoth? Behemoth's a fan favourite Monsterverse monster, just because he's got a really cool design. I think he would work pretty well. There's no one really with its sort of body type, I guess, other than like maybe the female Muto. That's something you can do with the tusks. I don't know. I think if this is gonna be like more of a Monsterverse pushed game, I think they should have one of the most popular Monsterverse monsters. And of course the Skullcrawler. I kind of just threw this in because I mean I kind of needed to. They're treated like in Godzilla vs. Kong, they're not treated brilliantly, so maybe it's not the perfect option. But I think they can make for a cool moveset. They'd probably be like the fastest character in the game. I can definitely see that sort of being a thing. And now we got a Wildcard set, just sort of random characters that probably do need to be in the game at launch. Jet Jaguar's becoming more and more popular with like Singular Point, and I think, I don't know, he was in the last game. I think people are starting to more warm up to Jet Jaguar now. I've always loved Jet Jaguar. Of course, he has the ability to shrink. He has those, like, flash his eyes or something. I don't know, but he's like a humanoid, and I don't think there's any just straight-up humanoid characters in this game. Oh, I guess except for Kong. Destroyer's a fan favourite. You gotta have Destroyer. Same with Biollante. Both are... I mean, Destroyer would be easy, actually, for a moveset. He has plenty of attacks, but obviously Biollante is always a struggle to put into a game. If they can pull it off, it would be brilliant, but I can definitely see why they might leave Biollante out. I mean, they left Biollante out of Save the Earth because it was just too difficult to develop. Same with Hedorah for Unleashed. But now they can do Hedorah, now they can do Biollante with the newest games. I think the technology is now there, and it can... I mean, it would be a struggle to make it a fun moveset, but it's cool nonetheless. And finally, Orga. I just thought it was nice to include a Millennium monster. I mean, there's no Mega Gearus, no Monster X, so throw in like one of the few unique Millennium monsters. And I love the Millennium monsters, so yeah, that's why I chose that. So for the DLC, I want the popular monsters, fan favourites, sort of like either random ones or just sort of like nice inclusions, just little bonuses, but ones that people would most likely buy. So for the first kaiju pack, let's call it, like the combat packs or something, you'd have Ghidorah from the Monsterverse and Varan. When have I ever pronounced it Varan? Varan the Unbelievable. So Varan, I mean, it goes without saying, it's like a flying squirrel type weirdo monster. It's just like a fun one to have. I think he can make for a pretty interesting moveset, but like, you know, I don't think really needs to be in the base roster at all. With the Monsterverse Ghidorah, I think it's different enough from the other Ghidorahs to actually be in the game. I can see it probably being the biggest monster in the game. Like, the Monsterverse Ghidorah is absolutely massive. Obviously, it's a Monsterverse character, so I think it's going to sell a little bit better. For the second DLC pack, I would have Shin Godzilla and Bagan, baby. So there's a lot of history behind Bagan. I think it would be a bit of a disservice if you had this massive roster of monsters and then not include Bagan, because Bagan's sort of synonymous with Godzilla gaming. Bagan's only, I think there's 2 canon appearances of Bagan, or not canon, but official appearances of Bagan, which is in Super Godzilla, and I think it's called like Godzilla Movie Studio Tour or something. It's like a weird PC game no one really talks about anymore. So if you don't know the history behind Bagan, he was basically going to be in loads and loads of Godzilla movies, like I think like 7 or 8 separate times, but those films ended up getting cancelled, or he got replaced with a different monster. So I think it would be nice if Bagan finally catches a break, even if... fun stuff. So this is when we get to the DLC packs. Now, I did get a little bit ambitious with these, I'm not gonna lie, but I put in a few safety nets. I realized that if this game is going to contain Warner Brothers, the MonsterVerse. First of all, I forgot to mention, another reason why this could happen is because NetherRealm is a partner of Warner Brothers owning the MonsterVerse and Legendary and stuff. So there's another sort of chance of it being made if Toho's on board, sort of thing. So for the first one, I kind of considered that. I went with Gypsy Danger. I think it's a pretty safe option for the first DLC. And it's a cool one. I love Pacific Rim, the original one. I haven't bothered with anything else after that. I don't know if the anime series is good, but yeah, I don't really want to watch that new Pacific Rim Uprising. I still refuse to watch that. I love Pacific Rim. I think Gypsy Danger will be a cool sort of character in the game. And it'll be nice to see Gypsy Danger in an actually good game. If you ever played that Pacific Rim game, it was dreadful. So cheap, so cheaply made. Ugh, I hate it. Give Gypsy Danger a chance in a good fighting game, please. Next one up is the Dino Megazord, aka whatever the hell it's called in Super Sentai. I don't know, I haven't seen Zyuranger. But the Zyuranger Zord, alright, that thing. Obviously this game is going to appeal to a Japanese and American market, so I think this is a brilliant character because it appeals to us both. What I'm imagining is that you could have a version of it which is a Power Rangers one where the characters speak English and they call it like a Megazord and all that, and then they have the Super Sentai version. So you don't actually have to make a new sprite or anything. Maybe like a new intro or like victory animation. That's all you would really need. But whatever version of it you want, you can use that, and you've just got that one model that you can use. Boom. Brilliant idea. Bang. Coming out with them all the time. And to cap off this first DLC pack, you'd have a more Japanese exclusive monster in the form of Gamera. I mean, it's nearly happened a few times, and it did happen that one time on a stage show, but we don't have that anymore. I think it's close. I think they're willing to do it now, especially in a video game where it doesn't really matter as much. I think Daiei and Toho are willing to do it, because I don't think Daiei is willing to make another Gamera movie, but I could definitely see them like, hey, let's throw him into a Godzilla game, see how popular this monster still is, because, I mean, I'd love to see a new Gamera movie, man. Now, moving on to DLC Pack 2. This one I just straight up had fun with. These are very silly, stupid options. Well, not silly, stupid, but they're pretty out there options. Starting with Kamen Rider J. I know Ultraman is the one that people want more, but personally I've been more of an Kamen Rider fan recently. And also, if they're going to do the whole Super Sentai Power Rangers thing, then they already would have had to ask for permission from Toei. So it just makes more sense to have this character in the game. And also, I don't know, it's a cool character. I love the design of Jay, I love the film, and it would be nice to see Godzilla and Kamen Rider cross over. They've already done it with Ultraman, they've done it obviously with Super Sentai, so it would be nice to see Godzilla get the chance to meet a character from the Kamen Rider franchise. Drogon from Game of Thrones. Yeah, this one, I'm not sure if Drogon would be big enough, but it would be great. I think Drogon would fit perfectly with this sort of universe. I don't know how weird it would be if you had like a little like Daenerys on the back of it. I think that would probably be a bit much, but I think just like Drogon being in with these characters would be a pretty cool one. Again, you kind of have to have ones for the American audience. You can't just be like, yeah, I'm going to have Gamma, I'm going to have Ultraman, I'm going to have Daimajin, I'm going to have Young Gary, I'm going to have Pulgasari show up. Although that might be illegal. Might start a few wars if you put Pulgasari in your game. You're going to have to be like, yeah, there was a lot of other American ones I thought were pretty cool. Like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I heard that one being thrown around, which I think is kind of a cool one to have. a Cloverfield monster, but Drogon I thought would be a nice one which sort of gets the bigger appeal. And is it owned by Warner Brothers? Game of Thrones? Is HBO like a part of Warner Brothers? I don't know, but it was in Space Jam 2, so I'm assuming it is. Speaking of Space Jam, my final guest character has actually already crossed over with Godzilla. On 2 occasions, even. There's even an entire timeline dedicated to this part of the Godzilla universe. Charles Barkley. Yes, it's stupid. Yes, this is a joke option. Yes, joke characters in fighting games are jokes for people who don't have a sense of humour. I don't care. I thought it'd be funny to throw him in. I always found that advert funny. Charles Barkley's kind of got like a bit of meme status as well, like what's it, Shut Up and Jam Gaiden sort of thing. So I guess you could call it a video game crossover as well. Yeah, it's stupid, blowing up Charles Barkley to size, but I mean, imagine he's more than willing to do it. I mean, he can't play basketball anymore, so what's he doing? Like, after showing up in The Last Dance or a few interviews, I imagine, I don't know, I haven't seen it. What's Charles Barkley up to, you know? They got Sylvester Stallone in to reprise his role as Rambo for Mortal Kombat, same with the guy who played RoboCop. Why can't they get Charles Barkley to reprise his role as Charles Barkley? So that's the roster. There you go, there's the full picture of the roster. I know there's obviously some characters I did end up leaving out, but like, honestly, who cares? I'm kidding. There's a few that I probably would have wanted if I had a little bit more space. Characters like Baragon would probably be a pretty big one. Different versions of Godzilla. Even maybe like, I was considering like Crystalak or Obsidian, just because, you know, like Godzilla video game, it would be nice to bring them back, but I don't know who owns those characters. With the guest characters, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of possibilities you could have had. Comment down below what you think would make the perfect Godzilla roster, who you would switch out for different characters. I'll try to be as fair as possible, whilst also throwing in some pretty me kind of options. I was fair, but you know, it's still a dream roster after all. I'm not sure what's coming out next, but stay tuned.